The reality is we don't lose ourselves all at once. It's not like all of a sudden, what happened? Where did I go? It just happens in small ways over time. It's almost invisible. Moments where we silence our needs, we begin to override our bodies, we stay busy just to avoid being with what's really there. Hi there, I'm Dr. Elisha Goldstein, and welcome to the Emotional Longevity Podcast. Have you ever felt like you've done everything right, but you still feel empty inside or emotionally tired, like the tiredness behind the eyes or in the bones, or you just kind of feel quietly disconnected? If so, this episode is something you're going to want to listen to. Today, I want to share something I've heard in so many forums from so many people, whether they're in my therapeutic coaching program, the individual people I work with, or really just from friends and family as well. It's especially for those of you in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, people who have spent their lives taking care of others or holding it all together, but somewhere along the way really began to lose touch with themselves. If this is you or someone that you know, I think it's important to know that you're not broken. You've heard that term many times. It's really that you've just learned to abandon yourself over time. I want to start with a sentence someone in my program said that really made me take a pause and reflect. She said, "I don't think I'm broken, but I do feel like I abandoned myself a long time ago." Now, she wasn't in a crisis. She was just really being honest. And what she named is something I think so many of us feel, but we don't always know how to say. The reality is we don't lose ourselves all at once. It's not like all of a sudden, what happened? Where did I go? It just happens in small ways over time. It's almost invisible. Moments where we silence our needs, we begin to override our bodies, we stay busy just to avoid being with what's really there. Now, I know this pattern too. I've lived it. This isn't just me talking as a psychologist and things I've seen and the people I've worked with. Now, I want to walk you through what I've learned for myself and with all the people I've worked with about how to gently come back, how to find your way back to yourself and your life so you feel more grounded in your day and you feel like you are aware of what matters and you're just engaging in life in a more meaningful way. Self-abandonment often looks like this. We say yes when we really mean no. We push through when our body needs rest. I do this when I just continue cleaning or I continue working and if I just realized I needed and I could give myself a few moments of rest, I'd be way more capable with all of the things that mattered in my life. Or we take time to care for others at the cost of really caring for ourselves. Now, here's the key, I think, that our mind instinctively really gets wrong. What's important to know is these experiences we have aren't flaws. They're actually protective patterns. They likely kept you safe when you didn't feel emotionally held at some point in your life, but now they might be keeping you hostage in some way or hindering you or holding you back or keeping you in a place of numbing out. Now, if you actually look at it, you'll see that these patterns are not signs of failure. They're actually signs of wisdom that at one point in your life were built under pressure. Now, I have this book I've been working on that's coming out early next year, 2026. It's called Tiny Shifts. It's about the small pivots we can make to our emotional health that have the biggest impacts on our stress, relationships, and also our longevity. That's like our health span, feeling well and capable into the latter years of our lives. I want to walk you through a few of these tiny shifts right now that can start to bring you home to yourself. Now, shift number one is we want to recognize the emotional loop that we're in. You might have heard me say this before, but repetition is the mother of mastery. And so it's really important to continue hearing this stuff. When you catch yourself abandoning your needs, you don't judge it. Your mind may naturally judge it. And that's the opportunity to kind of recognize that and notice that. You're just in that loop again. You just ask yourself, what part of me is stepping in right now? And it's helpful to give it a name because when we give it a name, it objectifies it a little bit, which allows us to get some space for perspective. So you can call it something like, or recognize it maybe as something. So you can see, is it maybe the appeaser, or maybe it's the overachiever, or maybe it's the avoider, When you, again, you can make it playful if you want to. Naming it is the beginning of changing it. Or as my good friend and mentor, Dan Siegel says, name it to tame it. Okay, shift number 2, use the breath as an opportunity to return back to a more grounded state in this present moment. We literally use it to come down from our minds and back into our lives. It could just be a single breath, one breath, or you can take as many breaths as you need. Then you take a moment to feel your body again. This allows you to ground into the moment. You're here now. And really, that's what matters. You're in that space between stimulus and response where now you can make a choice to speak to yourself in a different way. And this is where shift number 3 comes in. Taking a quick break here. If you're enjoying this conversation, I'd love to invite you to join my free newsletter. Every week, I share practical insights, tiny shifts, or emotional pivots you can make in your everyday life for your emotional health, and simple practices to help you build emotional resilience without the overwhelm. And when you sign up, you'll also get instant access to free guides I've created, like 5 AI prompts to ease anxiety and 4 steps to process difficult emotions, and more to come. It's the best way to stay connected, get my latest tools, and create a healthy inbox that supports your growth. Just head to the show notes, join the newsletter today. All right, back to the episode. You want to speak to yourself like someone you love. Now we have the ability to do that. So what if you said, I see how hard you're trying. You're allowed to rest. Or you don't have to hold it all together today. That was me yesterday. I felt overwhelmed. I was walking my dogs. I just had so many things I was juggling. And I took a moment to walk my talk. And I recognized that feeling of overwhelm, which I think is an umbrella term for so much of what people are experiencing today, with all the media that's coming in, the wars around the world, the speed of AI that's happening right now. There's just too much, as one of my friends said, and she also said, and we're just not handling it very well. So I was there. I recognized it. I took a moment to put a hand on my heart because that allows me to befriend myself. It's a gesture of mine of caring. I don't have any issues of that as a man. I've really worked through that. and then I told myself, like, I don't have to hold it all right now. And my shoulders came down and I really felt this more spaciousness in it. It felt pretty good. And in my book, I go through this whole process of learning how to renew, to consolidate the memory so we get better for next time. But for the purposes of this podcast today, we just want to kind of notice that. And we also want to recognize that that's not a weakness to do that. It actually shifts you from a contracted state of fight, flight, freeze response to a feeling a bit more at ease and open. When you look at it from that perspective, it's actually a position of strength, and it's also the beginning of healing. So from here, we can move into another shift where we get to realign with the truth of what's actually here. And so you ask yourself, what do I need right now? This is a primary self-compassion question, but it gets to the core of learning how to, of getting information to support us in rebalancing ourselves. Or you can ask yourself, what's one small way that I can honor that need, which allows you to incline more towards the action involved with it. And this is how we start to rebuild trust in ourselves. So for me in that story, what I needed was to let go a little bit. What I needed was a little rest. What I needed was a little acceptance. What I needed was permission. And that allowed me to also perspective. There wasn't the urgency that I thought that my mind was telling me that was there. And so I allowed myself to come into that state of feeling more rest. That's the reality. I'll give you another example of this. One woman in my emotional health coaching program said, I didn't realize how disconnected I was from myself until I started doing this work. Now I'm starting to feel alive again. Another person shared, I finally feel like I can sit with my emotions without feeling like they'll consume me. Now, they weren't doing anything dramatic. They were just making these tiny shifts in everyday, ordinary life, and they did it consistently in a space that held them with kindness and support. So here's what I want to leave you with. You're not too old to change. I know that script sometimes goes through our mind, can't teach an old dog new tricks type of idea, lives in our culture, but you're absolutely not too old to change. You're not too far gone to reconnect with yourself into your life, into what matters for you and what's meaningful for you. You're certainly not broken, not defective, not deficient. you're just surviving. You've been learning to just doggy paddle for a while and sort of been trained by our environment to be able to do that. But now you get to return, to come home to yourself in a way that's going to feel a whole lot better. You can listen to this episode again and again and kind of play with what we're talking about here. And I always say the proof is in the eating of the pudding, meaning listen to yourself, allow your experience to be your teacher. You just need to start with one breath. That's it, or multiple breaths if you need it. One word of kindness to yourself, a new way of relating to yourself that's going to support your emotional health. One honest pause in your day. I know we can be walking along and we get ideas, or we're listening to a podcast and we just it sounds good, but actually take that pause and practice it and see what you notice. That's it, that honest pause in the day. And if you want support with that return, I've created other ways you can go deeper, of course. You can check out in the show notes. I have free guides that can support you with that, free tools. And if you wanted to go deeper and actually work in a community and emotional health coaching program, experience more healthy longevity in your life, or if you wanted to go even deeper and join an emotional health coaching program and work with me and others who are doing this in the emotional longevity experience, then you can also find a link to support you in setting a call up for that as well. Otherwise, let's just keep doing this together, because together is where we can make an impact on our own lives and we can make ripple effects on other people's lives. And the world needs that more than ever today. Okay, my name is Dr. Elisha Goldstein. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Hey, thanks for joining me on this episode of the Emotional Longevity Podcast. I hope you found it as inspiring and thought-provoking as I did. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit like down below, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone you know who could benefit from these insights. Your support helps us grow this incredible community and reach more people who need it. If today's conversation resonated with you and you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to truly integrate these ideas into your life, I'd love to invite you to join me in a beautiful, supportive community that's doing this transformative work together. It's a space where you'll find guidance, connection, and the tools you need to create lasting emotional health and resilience. Check out the links in the description below to learn more. And before you go, make sure to tune into our next episode. It's one that you won't want to miss. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, emotional health isn't about just feeling good. It's about building the foundation for a longer, healthier, and more joyful life. I'll see you soon.